very much apologize. I can't believe that we went through all those hoops. So I will get started. I hope that you can all hear me, and I will get started. Okay. I guess I'd like to know, can everyone see my screen? I'm going to say that yes, people can see my screen. You should be able to see a screen that says what's new in Dynamics GP. So we're going to go ahead and get started and try and catch up.
We can see your screen, Tracy.
Oh, fantastic. Thank you so much. Thank you. I'll just bring my PowerPoint up so I know what we're doing here. Okay, so we're going to be going through this really, really quickly because we're a bit behind, and I hope that if you do have to drop off, we are recording this session, so therefore it's all going to be good. All right, so let's get started. Just a little bit about Encore. Most of you have been working with us for many years, but here is our mission statement. And again, that's working with you, not just the software, but working with you in your organization. So upgrading, it's a great time to upgrade, and this session is about the new features in Dynamics GP, not just in Dynamics GP 2016 R2, but talking about the main updates in 2015, 2015 R2, 2016, and 2016 R2. Now, most of you, if not all of you, are on your annual maintenance with Dynamics GP. Therefore, you're entitled to that new release. So it's great to take advantage of that. And taking advantage of all of that functionality and features that add value to your organization. So we're going to try and touch on those main ones today. And also, do the upgrade when it makes sense for you. We're not saying that you want to do it when you're going to be doing your year end. That's probably not a good time to be doing your upgrade. But start planning now. Work with our team and start planning that. Always mentioning the MS Connect or connect.microsoft.com, where you can actually put in your own product suggestions, and it is a full cycle feedback. So if you put in a recommendation or something you'd like to see and they actually use it, they'll let you know, and they'll also let you know if they're not going to be able to use it in the new release, but they'll make sure that they keep that in mind. And you can vote, so when you go there you can see other people's suggestions and voting. So a quick look at the support lifecycle. So again, if you are on 2013 SP2, that mainstream support ends in 2018, and if you're on 2010, that support has ended for mainstream support. So just looking at that mainstream support. So for Dynamics GP 2016 and 2016 R2, what's happening there? Well, we've got some great web client enhancements. The Power BI reports right on your desktop. Ability to scan multiple pages. So for those of you who've used the document attach, there was, you can only scan one page at a time and they have to be separate attachments. And now we can scan multiple documents and make it one record to put into the application. The Word templates for batch approval workflow. So that's if I'm going to, for example, do a general journal batch and I want to have approval, I can have that Word template with the content of that batch come along with that. So if the person who's the approver is on their mobile device, they can actually see that information from their mobile device. So if they're using it from their iPad or their Android phone, and they want to look at that information, they can see that. Also, if you're using project accounting, you can do the document attachments for your project expenses or your expense entries. Oh, I missed one, didn't I? Export numbers to Excel, so it's actually coming out as numbers now. We'll go through that and show you that in this presentation today. And the budget import exception report. So again, if you have people who are uploading budgets and the GL account doesn't exist, it will give you an exception report and allow you to go and create that GL account if you need to. So let's go ahead, and I'm going to switch over and make sure that you can see this screen, and I see that you are seeing my screen here. So this is Dynamics GP. I've already logged into the system, and one of the first things I want to look at is talking about some of the improvements when we talk about the BI improvements, specifically around smart lists. So all of us are familiar with smart lists. I'm sure we're all using them, and if we're not, we should be using them. So one of the things, let's say, for example, I've created this great smart list that I use all the time, and I'm actually going to be using it as one of my favorites. So there's protection now for your favorites so that someone else can't just come in and override what you've already created. So for example, when I'm looking at this and I've got certain columns in here and I've gone in and maybe I've added some columns from the table and I have it in the order that I want to look at. Or I'm going to go do, I'm searching for a particular type of record. So I've got that information there. And again, I can put now there's a password that I can have to protect that so that someone doesn't go and update or change or remove that. And also you've got the ability to go and have your, I'm just going to pop out of here just for a second, is let's say, for example, if I go in to look at vendors and I want to have a filtered look for my filtered list for my lookup. You can see here that this automatically went and filtered. And if I hit the down arrow here, you can see that it's my favorites was actually a smart list. So we look at this and it says Tracy's list. Well, if I go back over into Smart List itself, you'll see that under my vendors, so if I go to purchasing and I go to vendors, I have made a filtered list here. So again, by having that filtered list, I can then go and save that as my favorite. So that can come in handy when there are specific vendors or customers or inventory items or even GL accounts that I want to work with. When I'm hitting that lookup, I don't have to see the entire list of all of my master records. I can look at that filtered list. It makes the ability to get to my data a lot easier. Exporting the numbers are now numbers, so we'll just go in here and have a quick look at that. We'll go and look at a financial list that I have here, account transactions, and we'll just quickly go look at this. And when I go and dump that out to Excel, before they were coming out in the same format as everything else. So if we go ahead and look at that, if I click on here, I can see that that's a date. I can see that that's general. This is general. And now when I look at this, it is now a number. So that has been improved in the newer release. I'm going to go and walk through Smart List Designer. So for those of you who are not familiar, there's a Smart List Designer that comes with Smart List now. And I could go in and go and create from scratch my own Smart List. So for example, I could click in here and it will bring up my Smart List Designer, which I can go and build from scratch. And you can see all the different products that you have access to, all of the tables and the fields. So let's go and have a look at one that I've built. So I'll just quickly close out of here. And this is a really interesting one. Sometimes security can be challenging in how we look at that information. And sometimes it's nice to be able to build a report or a view the way that you'd like to see it. So I actually built this in the Smart List Designer. So we're going to go over, there's the data. So you can see I've got my user IDs, what role they're in, which company they are, the security tasks, the name, and the description. So for example, when I see that security task ID, maybe I want to see what that actually can do. So I'm just going to quickly take you through how I built that. So we're going to go click back on there. There we go. Click on the folder, then Modify lights up. So I can go click into Modify, and now I am in the Smart List Designer. So let's go have a look at where I found these tables and these fields from. So if I go into Dynamics GP, I'm going to click on Tables, and I'm going to click on Company. And then if I scroll down here, you can see some of these items that I've selected. I think I picked the wrong one. It should be System, pardon me. So I'm going to go into System and I scroll down. You can see there I used some of the fields from Company Master, but I'm also going to scroll down here just to show you down here. Here are the different security task IDs. So that is that field name that I pulled in here. So as you're building out your report, you're inserting them here. So we'll just go ahead and click that one. You can see that now that got highlighted and added it into my view. And if I don't want that, I can remove it. And so as I'm building those selected fields, you can then go do an auto link if you want, which will then go and try and make those links between tables if I've used more than one table, or I can do it manually myself by hitting the down arrow. You can go ahead and execute your query, and it will show you the data down here. So again, as you're building that report, and you want to make sure you're getting the data that you require, you've got that little bit of a preview. So really simple, and I encourage you, if you haven't had the opportunity to play around with Smart List Designer, that you go ahead and do that. And actually from here I can do filtering. So for example, I want to filter on certain things for that list, or if I want to create a go-to, so how I use go-tos in Smart Lists. So I'm going to go ahead and close out of here and go back here. So those are some of the improvements just from a Smart List perspective. And now I'm going to go over and look at, for those of you that are, you might be aware of it, you might not be, now in our financial area, we can directly link into our management report or reports. Unfortunately, in my image, I don't have any reports, but they would be listed here should I have them. And then by simply double clicking on that report, it would go ahead and launch MR. So again, you've got that ability to not have to go into a separate application, but actually access it within the application itself. I'm going to jump back here to my home page. So another BI improvement is this ability to have Power BI right there on the desktop. So you can see here I've got my total revenue and my gross margin right there on my desktop, because those are some of the things that I'm really interested in seeing. If I want to go ahead and drill down on that, I'll bring that up and I'll actually bring my Power BI dashboard up for me to have a look at. So again, I've got lots of great information here. So I've got that ability to have that on the desktop as well as go into Power BI, and that's looking directly at my Dynamics data. So for those of you that are interested in that, there's lots of great functionality with Power BI and the ability to share out that information internally. I'm going to just pop over now to some of the system-wide improvements. So for those of you who are not familiar or haven't used it yet, is the web client. So I'm going to go ahead and jump over to my web client. So you can see that it has the same functionality, a little bit different look and feel to my desktop client. But again, if you're familiar with navigating the desktop client, you'd pretty much be able to find your way around here as well. And one of the things I really think is cool about this application, the web client, is I have the ability to search. So for example, I want to find out, I can't remember how to get to the vendor maintenance screen. So when I start typing, of course, up pops the windows that I'm looking for. And so I can go and click on that, and it actually tells me the navigation. Oh, I would go to cards and then purchasing cards. That's how I would get to vendor maintenance. So I can go ahead and click on that. Well, we don't want that happening. Okay, I'm going to go back into here. So let's go. That never happens, does it? So we'll go ahead and log back in again. Back into the web client, and I'm going to go log in. There we go. Back onto the web client, back onto my home page. And I'm going to go ahead and try that again. We'll have that looking up from that search functionality. And I want to go to my vendor maintenance screen. And that should pop up my vendor maintenance card. There we go. That's what we're looking for. And again, depending on which vendor I want to work with, I can go ahead and hit the look up there and see all of my vendors. And again, it has remembered my filtered favorite list. Even though I'm on the web client, it's the same, is knowing me as a user and logging on, and I'm able to find that really quickly. So a couple things about new improvements on the web client. Able to use multiple devices, so including iPad and Android tablets. Supported browsers include Internet Explorer, Microsoft Edge, Safari, and Chrome. So again, being product agnostic or device agnostic as well as browser agnostic, allowing you to be able to view all of that information there. So for those of you who are interested, you can deploy the web client. So I want to make a quick note about that, because I get asked this question often, is the types of users. So users in Dynamics GP are full use, limited use, and employee self-service. So a full use user can go onto the desktop client or onto the web client. The web client is not just for a limited use user or just for an employee self-service user. The user type can go into either the desktop or the web client. And if you have any questions, you can certainly reach out to any one of us on the team if you have further questions about the user types and which application they can go into. Now I'm going to go over and have a look at the document attach. This is not my day, everyone. I'm having all these technical challenges. Let's go back here and we'll log in again. Okay, go back into our test company. Great. Okay. Let's see, where did I have this go up to? Now I know what I've done wrong. I'm back here. Here we go. Scan document attach. All right, so we're going to go ahead and look at our last voucher. I'm in the payables transaction entry, and you can see as soon as I come to this window, I've got this visual queue here. So if I go here to a different record, you can see that I don't have a visual queue there. It's just got a paperclip. But now I've got this visual queue that I've got something here. So I can click on here and open up that document attachment management window. And in here, I've got an invoice. So I actually did go ahead and attach an invoice here already. And you can see here, I've got an image of that invoice here. It's not a very good image, but anyways, it is there. I've scanned and attached that. Now I'm not hooked up to a printer, but if I had AP invoices or contracts or any type of documentation, I could scan that directly to this record. So again, I can scan and attach that, and I can put parameters around this actual image, and it gets backed up and saved every time I save my SQL database. I can also instruct it whether it can travel with this. So for example, if it was attached to an inventory item, do I want that image to go to the invoice? Do I want it to go out as a purchase order? And also, am I able to send this attachment in an email? So if I was emailing out something, I'd want that attachment to go with it as well. So there's a lot of functionality, even though the document attachment did come out in an earlier release. With each release, there's more and more functionality and improvements. And you can set a sunsetting period on there as well. So for example, if you only wanted to keep that document in the database for a year, it can automatically delete after that time. So lots of great rich functionality there in the document attach. Now we're going to go ahead and look at workflow. So I'm going to open this up and just kind of walk you through at a high level about workflow. So in workflow, we have various types of workflow. So there's financial, sales, purchasing, project administration. So again, in each one of these, they have the ability to build out different workflows. So for example, here, I've got a GL batch workflow, and I've put a condition on here. So we'll open up this condition editor, and I've said, if in the batch header comment, I have typed urgent, it needs to go to the CFO for approval. So again, something really simple, but I'm allowed to go and do that. You can see all of the fields within the batch itself, the batch header, and you can also look at the extended field list as well. So again, I'm putting a kind of a parameter around that. Now, it didn't do a dollar value. You could. I was just doing more if I needed the CFO to approve this batch, I would put urgent in there, and then off it would go to them. So you also have a condition as well. And this is a new feature in the workflow, is the ability to say, oh, if this step doesn't get done, can this workflow continue, or does it have to stop? So you've got that ability to do that as well. And I've assigned it to my direct manager, and it has to be done in 8 hours, or else it's going to go ahead and remind them again that it hasn't been done in that amount of time. You can also send messages with it and word templates, and again, different completion policies. So there's a lot of richness within this PO, or sorry, and within this workflow. Why I say PO is that's where normally people do want to have that workflow. But again, we've got, you can have purchase requisition workflow, purchase order workflow, and then payables transactions. So if we go and look at an AP transaction, here is, I've got, and again, I could have multiple steps. I made it very simple. I just put one step on there. And I said that this, if the PM transaction document amount is greater than $100,000, that it would have to go for workflow approval. So There's approval, but there's also task. So for example, let's go jump over and look at vendor approval. I haven't created one, but in vendor approval, that task would be very important. So for example, I can say I'm going to add a new vendor, but that has to be approved. And maybe one of the tasks is that I make sure I've attached a contract to the vendor maintenance card. So again, it's not just approvals, it could also be a task where you assign a task for someone to complete. So lots of great improvements in workflow. Again, those Word templates for batch approval workflow. The document attached for the workflow email. So again, you can have that attachment in that workflow so that people can see that. So for example, the AP invoice. So I've scanned the AP invoice and I want that ability for it to be attached to that workflow approval. And that workflow approval could be sent in an email to the person's phone. So again, that person who's approving doesn't have to be a Dynamics GP user. They could approve it from their mobile device. So lots of great improvements there. One thing, it's a small thing, I wanted to show it. I thought it is a very interesting thing, an improvement that I've been working with GP for a very, very long time. And I'm so glad this is now part of our solution. But turn on automatically post cash deposits. So for those of you that have used cash receipts before, you come into company setup and go to options. And you'll see down here we have something called automatically post cash receipt deposits. Now that's quite a long sentence there. But let's go ahead and go over to sales and go into cash receipts. I just realized I didn't bring myself a glass of water. I'm going to be talking and losing my voice. So I've already started a batch, and my batch is my GP demo, and I've got a few transactions here. Or maybe I haven't had any transactions yet. Maybe I didn't. So let's go ahead and enter some transactions, and we'll say, great, got $50 from this account. And we'll go and do another one. We'll say another customer here, Adam Park, and he paid $25. So right now we've got 50 and 25, so we can kind of keep track of how much money we've got there. So I'm going to go ahead and do that, and then I want to go ahead and I want to post that. So I'm going to go ahead and hit post. That's another new improvement is, there we go. And I'm not going to print all of those. We'll just cancel those out for right now. I should turn that off. And now my batch is going through. So now if I go into reconcile, and it was Uptown Trust, I'm going to go ahead and look at the transactions. And you can see that was one that there's a couple of them in here. There's I guess I did have some other transactions there, but now I don't have to go and group those deposits. Before, do you remember we used to come into here and we would go bank deposits and we would group them together? Now we don't have to do that anymore. So if I go into here, and again, maybe I want to look at that particular batch that we just did, I can drill back on that and you can see the information. There's the $25, and I had some other amounts in there, $25 and $50. So again, making it easier. I no longer have to go and group all those individual cash receipts into a deposit. It's grouping it for me automatically and doing that work for me. So although it might be a small thing for those of you that do have to group the deposits together to make a deposit in the bank reconciliation module, a great help there. I better talk faster. All-in-one document viewer, this is awesome. Let's go and click in here. For those of you who have used it, if you haven't used it, please check it out. I'm going to go ahead and choose my advanced office systems. And you can see there, I want to look at all vendors now, not just my filtered list. So I'm going to go ahead and grab that. And I know I'm looking at a particular PO, so I'm going to go ahead and look at a PO that I happen to know the number of. I want to go ahead and look at that, and I say OK. There we go. OK. And you can see then I can see the PO for that. I can drill down on that and look at the PO itself. I can go ahead and look at my receipts for that particular PO. And I can also look at the invoice. And this particular one hasn't been paid at the moment. But again, you can look at everything that has to do with purchasing. So maybe you're not using purchase orders, but you'd have your invoice and your payments there. And if I want to go look at the next few records, again, you can just flick through and scroll through those records. So very powerful, that all-in-one document viewer. You can also get to it, for example, if I go and look at, we'll go to sales, and if I go and look at customers, we're going to get the same type of view. And again, this can be accessed from many different places. So for example, if I wanted to look at Aaron Fitz, I've got that ability to go ahead and see the all-in-one viewer right from there. So again, it takes me to a similar screen we looked at purchasing, but again, now I'm looking at Aaron Fitz and I can see all of his quotes, orders, invoices, cash receipts, and credits and returns. And maybe I'm looking for a very specific one. I can then go and filter that information. So really easy to navigate around and get to all that information. I won't go into the inventory one at this time, but there is that for inventory as well. And we'll go into a couple of other things. I want to look at these reports. So some of you may or may not be using all of your Excel Refreshable reports, but I wanted to let you know that there are some pre-built dashboards that come with the Excel Refreshable reports. So this one is a financial dashboard, which gives us a variety of metrics there as well. So there's a financial one, a sales, and a purchasing dashboard. So again, this gives you some great ideas to start building off of information that you would like to have and be able to share throughout your user community. And again, these reports can be shared outside, do not require a Dynamics GP license to access that information. So once you've generated it, you could email it or put it on someone's desktop and they'd be able to access it. So one of the final things I'm going to show before I go back to the PowerPoint is our copy and paste. So let's go ahead and look at that for those of you who have not been exposed to it. But you create an Excel spreadsheet, basically your description, your account numbers, your debits and credits. You can go ahead and I'm going to copy that, and then I'm going to come into my general journal entry and I'm going to click on paste, and you can see that I now have that journal entry there ready for me to use. It's kind of really, really helpful for getting the data in there when I've been using it. Maybe an Excel spreadsheet or other people are giving us information, and we can do a copy and paste there. So super powerful. So we'll jump back over to our PowerPoint and we'll continue on just to, again, to recap some of the things we talked about. The web client enhancements, and remember that a full use, limited use, or employee self-service user can use all of those improvements as well for the web client. Any browser, device, and there's an enhanced UI for us to use. That search, so the ability to type in what you're looking for and it take you to that window and remind you of that navigation. Power BI reports, so again, that new home page, either in the web client or on your desktop client, and you can have your Power BI reports there and linking out to the full screen. Scanning multiple pages, so again, this is what it would look like had I been hooked up to a scanner. So on a record, I can go ahead and scan multiple pages and attach that to whatever master record or individual transaction that I want to. Nice thing about that is they're saved as blobs in your SQL database, so they're backed up. So one of the things in the setup will say, great, if let's say you were looking out on your desktop for an app file, that when it's copied in the SQL database, it'll say, do you want to delete it from its origin? So again, no point in keeping 2 copies of something. If the SQL database is going to back it up, that's great. Okay. A workflow Word templates for batch approval. So again, being able to then email that out and have that document so people can look at it outside of Dynamics GP, don't have to be a GP user, and they can approve that. Attachments, again, being able to have attachments as well. So again, maybe I've scanned the AP invoice and then I can have it attached to that workflow for the person who's approving it. Condition management, again, being able to say whether you want to continue on in the workflow steps or reject it. Reassignment notifications. So again, what happens, you go on vacation, you want to be able to get escalated over to someone or have an alternate approver. You've got that ability to do that now. So again, you can either delegate, escalate, or have an alternate approver. Great to see those exported numbers as numbers instead of general. Ability to do your employee expenses in project accounting for Dynamics GP. And that budget import exception report. So again, allow you to, if someone creates a GL account and it doesn't exist in GP, that you can have that, or if there are duplicates, it'll notify you of that. We also now have a broader scope of the emailing of reports. So when we're generating, for example, purchase orders or sales orders, it now is encompassing some of those other forms that we used, as well as the Word templates. That concludes my quick overview, and I apologize for starting so late, but just a couple of other announcements. If you do have any questions, I'm happy to go over the other features. I probably could talk for 17 hours about Dynamics. One of the things that we are a cloud service provider as well. So again, if that interests you, posing that question, never having to buy another server again, if that sounds very interesting to you, please reach out to us. We'd love to have that conversation with you about that. And then we also have a new support offering for those of you who've checked it out on the website. But if that's something that interests you as well, I'd love to have that chat with you about that. I'm really talking fast and trying to wrap this up because I know we started very late. We've got great blogs up on our website if you want to check them out. A whole section on preparing for upgrades. We have a whole package of information that can help guide you through that. If you're not interested in upgrading today, or maybe you saw a piece of functionality that you're really interested today, keep in mind with that new perpetual licensing, there's a whole lots and lots of capability that your application has that you might not be taking advantage of. So when you're getting the package and you're looking through that capability guide, see if there's other things in Dynamics GP that you're not leveraging right now that could add value to your business. So we were keeping questions to the end, and I will see if I can figure out how to turn this on so we can have questions.
So this is Tiffany.
Hi, Tiffany.
There is a few questions in the question panel. Can you see that, or do you want me to read them out for you?
Can you send us the slides? Absolutely. I'd love to send the slides to you. Oh my gosh, this is like showing me one line of these questions. How do I make this bigger? Okay, Tiffany, I'm going to try and scroll up to the top. Oh, there's a lot of questions. Oh, that was all we can't hear anything, we can't hear anything. There we go. I'm so sorry about that. Emails sent out from GP do not have to have an email signature. That can be added. When will GP get this basic feature? Shilpi, I can certainly find out for you. I think in the email templates, I see what you're saying is it just comes from a generic place, but I will definitely take that away and see what we can find out for you. And I would suggest that you go up to connect at Microsoft.com and put that suggestion in there. I'm sure other people have, and let's vote on that as much as we can. Is there an online process that allows customers to place orders themselves in the case the clients? I can't read all of that. Tiffany, can you read all of that question?
Yeah, it says is there an online process that allows customers to place orders themselves? Um, in the case its clients would register into a program to do so.
Right. I'd have to find out about that. I'm not sure. I can definitely send you the slides, and yes, we are recording this so that you can all watch it again or share it with someone else. But if you have any questions about new functionality, question about upgrades, questions about Azure, please feel free to reach out to us. As that's what we're here for. We're the client engagement team, and we're here to make sure that you're getting the best um, value and feature functionality out of your solution. And we'd love to talk more about it. So thank you all for joining, and I really apologize for running late. That was my technical difficulties on my side, so I apologize. I'm wishing you all a fantastic afternoon, and I miss you all. I wish I could be with all of you guys, and I look forward to chatting with you more. Thanks, Tiffany, for your help.
You're welcome.